It's my job now to thank you for your attendance and your perseverance, and now to invite to propose a vote of thanks Philip Jones of Telstra, Telstra's acting CTO. Phil. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Nathan. And well done, people who have hung in. What an amazing 2 days. What a privilege to have participated. What a privilege for Telstra to have hosted it, in all honesty. And I hope you've all enjoyed these facilities, which we're really proud of. I mean, we see these facilities as absolutely world-leading, and we're on a journey to be a world-class technology company in all our labs, our innovation models, our participation in the Israeli ecosystem is very definite and discernible, as you heard from Annie. You know, we take our leadership team to Israel to understand and do the speed dating and participate and, as Matthew said, invest. But this wouldn't have happened over these 2 days without the amazing leadership by Eddie. And I'd like us all to give a round of applause to the Israel. And like any of these type events, they also don't turn into being amazing unless you've got rich content. And I think the panelists, the startups, all the speakers, the level of professionalism, the preparation, the thinking, and the fit-for-purpose sort of messages that were delivered, I think were really impressive. So I'm going to share a few reflections, and I'll be quick because I know I'm between you and drinks. And I'm going to start with Dove. And the first thing is, you've left me with a lifelong nightmare. I think I've got somewhere like 15 doors in my house. And I think every time I try to go through one, my stupid head's going to be going through, probability calculations and what's on the other side. And the second thing is I've got to fix up one of your little speeches about, two Israelis never agree. Well, I've just had the last 4 years, which the Telstra people will relate to, working with an amazing Israeli colleague. It's an amazing Israeli colleague. Let me tell you, Israelis don't agree with anybody in the first instance, not just two Israelis. So you've got to modify that little speech. But a couple of the other reflections, I think one of the most resounding ones that's landed on me, and I think, and I can honestly attest to the fact will change me. Working for an incredible market leader like Telstra, this concept of mindset, we come from a place of being a leader in our market. We don't use the word dominate, which was used a few times. We don't set out to dominate. But when I think of very new things that we do and the things we get involved with startups, I can honestly attest to the fact we don't have that amazing mindset that says, set out from day one to be a global leader. And I found probably of all the things that I heard over the last couple of days, that was a defining moment for me. And I can relate sometimes to that when I remember my privilege I've had in my career and dealing with, the CEOs of some of the largest technology companies in the world face to face. And I can always remember John Chambers, the ex-CEO, now just chairman of Cisco. And I remember we were going into a new technology co-creation exercise with them, and he said, but we're only going to go forward with this if we're number one and number two in the market, globally. And that always hit me, and I sat back and went, wow, how come we, in Australia, we don't think quite like that, And so that was very special. But there were a couple other reflections that I think, in this whole model of collaboration is the new innovation. This thinking that came out when David Thodey was running the panel about segmentation. I thought that was very compelling as well, because there is a lot of emphasis on startups. But as David said, particularly in Australia, and when we heard Dove mentioned it as well in Israel, the growth in SMB and turning a small to medium enterprise and scaling up and scaling out with it so it can become a globally impactful organisation and being able to address and have the skills and techniques and thinking to be globally scalable, I think was very powerful as well. Because that's what's generating the jobs. And that's what our children that you spoke about, it's where most of them are going to get their jobs growth for. And at the end of the day, when you talked about the Facebook versus the real jobs, I think I want a real future for my children that's about real jobs and real jobs for their friends and building out that ecosystem. And the other thing that, just to finish up on, that I thought was very powerful was this concept of Australia's standing for something in that technology world, and I think that came through particularly strongly yesterday, and a little bit again this morning, and the speed speech about the whole Israeli story in 20 minutes, which David did, which I thought was just really insightful. But I think I don't know what that thing has to be, or whether it has to be one thing. But I thought that was very insightful, that we should focus and direct, a lot of our startup and our energies towards being a global leader in some technology category and go hard at it. And as my team knows, I use this language quite often, work out a way to monster it. So thanks for your participation. Thanks for coming. Thanks again, Eddie. An amazing couple of days. I'm glad I invested my time in it, and I'm glad that Telstra participated and assisted with these facilities. So well done.